Hollywood told us these stars were yesterday's news, but they never got the memo. They became legends in the 70s and 80s. Some dominated the biggest movies of their generation. Others eventually disappeared from the spotlight. But decades later, they're still here, and some are still acting. One is now over 90, another looks almost unrecognizable, and one even returned to the screen after years away. So let's go back to where it all started and find out what happened to 50 Hollywood stars who simply refused to disappear. Robert De Niro became one of Hollywood's defining actors of the 1970s, especially after Taxi Driver and The Godfather Part 2. His intense performances turned him into a legend, but unlike many stars from his generation, he never really slowed down. Even decades later, De Niro continues taking on major film and television roles, and this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Meryl Streep emerged as a major Hollywood talent in the late 1970s, quickly earning a reputation for being able to disappear into almost any character. From Kramer vs. Kramer to Sophie's Choice, her career only grew bigger. Decades later, she remains one of the most respected working actresses in Hollywood, and this is what she looked like back then, and what she looks like now. In the 1970s, Sylvester Stallone went from struggling actor to worldwide superstar when he wrote and starred in Rocky. The character turned him into an action icon and launched one of Hollywood's most recognizable franchises. But Stallone never stopped fighting for new roles, returning repeatedly as Rocky and Rambo. And this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Harrison Ford was already working in Hollywood before the 1980s, but Star Wars and Indiana Jones transformed him into one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. Decades later, audiences still recognize him as the face of some of cinema's most iconic characters. And remarkably, Ford continues to take on major roles, and this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Diane Keaton became a major star during the 1970s, especially through her work with Woody Allen and her unforgettable role as Kay Adams in the Godfather films. Her distinctive style and personality made her stand out from everyone else. She continued reinventing herself across comedy and drama for decades, and this is what she looked like back then, and what she looks like now. Michael Douglas stepped out from the shadow of his famous father and built a major acting career of his own. His breakthrough years included Romancing the Stone and Wall Street, where his performance as Gordon Gekko became legendary. Instead of disappearing with age, Douglas continued finding major roles in both movies and television, and this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Susan Sarandon built her reputation through memorable performances during the 1970s and 80s, eventually becoming one of Hollywood's most recognizable actresses. Films like Thelma and Louise helped cement her status as a star, but her career didn't end with that era. She continued appearing in major productions for decades, and this is what she looked like back then, and what she looks like now. Jeff Bridges was already acting as a child, but the 1970s and 80s established him as one of Hollywood's most respected leading men. From The Last Picture Show to Starman, he showed he could handle almost any role. After decades in the business, Bridges continues to appear on screen, and this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Michelle Pfeiffer became one of Hollywood's biggest female stars in the 1980s, with unforgettable performances in films including Scarface, The Witches of Eastwick, and Batman Returns. For a period, she was everywhere. Even after stepping away from the spotlight at times, Pfeiffer returned to major productions and continued building her remarkable career. And this is what she looked like back then, and what she looks like now. Tom Hanks became a household name in the 1980s after breaking through with films like Splash, Big, and The Burbs. What started as a comedy career eventually transformed into one of Hollywood's most successful acting careers. From Forrest Gump to modern films, Hanks has remained a familiar face for generations, and this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't originally expected to become one of Hollywood's biggest stars, After building a legendary bodybuilding career, he conquered the movies with Conan the Barbarian and The Terminator. His thick accent was initially considered a problem, but he turned it into part of his identity. Decades later, he's still returning to acting roles, and this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Jamie Lee Curtis became famous almost overnight after starring in the 1978 horror classic Halloween. She quickly became known as one of the most recognizable stars of the genre, but she refused to stay in one category. From comedy to drama and back to horror, Curtis kept reinventing herself, and decades later, she's still appearing on screen. And this is what she looked like back then, and what she looks like now. Bruce Willis became a television favorite in the 1980s through moonlighting, but his career exploded when he became John McClane in Die Hard. Suddenly, he was one of Hollywood's biggest action stars. His career later expanded into comedy and drama, creating a filmography that defined an entire era. And this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Denzel Washington first gained major attention through television before becoming one of Hollywood's most respected actors. During the 1980s, films like Cry Freedom and Glory showed audiences that he was much more than a rising star. His career only became bigger with time, and decades later, he remains one of Hollywood's most powerful performers. And this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Kevin Costner became one of Hollywood's biggest leading men during the 1980s, with films such as The Untouchables, Bull Durham, and Field of Dreams. Then came Dances with Wolves, which turned him into an Oscar-winning filmmaker as well as a star. After decades of ups and downs, Costner continues working in film and television, and this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Sigourney Weaver became a science fiction icon after playing Ellen Ripley in Alien. But what made her career special was that she proved a female action hero could carry a blockbuster just as powerfully as anyone else. She continued moving between science fiction, comedy, drama, and blockbuster films for decades. And this is what she looked like back then, and what she looks like now. Liam Neeson spent years building his reputation as a serious dramatic actor before becoming an unlikely action superstar later in life. His role in Taken introduced him to an entirely new generation of fans and transformed his career. Instead of slowing down with age, Neeson found a completely new chapter in Hollywood. And this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Danny DeVito may be one of Hollywood's most recognizable faces, but his journey began with smaller roles before Taxi made him a television star. His unusual appearance and sharp comedic style eventually made him unforgettable in films like Twins and Matilda. Decades later, DeVito is still entertaining audiences on screen, and this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Richard Gere became one of Hollywood's leading men during the 1970s and 80s, gaining attention in films such as American Gigolo and later becoming a worldwide heartthrob through An Officer and a Gentleman and Pretty Woman. His career has stretched across generations, and he continues to take on acting projects today. And this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Diane Lane began acting professionally while still very young and became a familiar face in Hollywood during the late 1970s and 80s. Films like The Outsiders helped introduce her to a generation of movie fans. Unlike many child and young stars, Lane successfully built a lasting adult career and continues acting today. And this is what she looked like back then, and what she looks like now. John Travolta became a household name in the 1970s after Saturday Night Fever, and Grease turned him into one of Hollywood's biggest young stars. His career later went through some major highs and lows, but Pulp Fiction brought him an unforgettable comeback in the 1990s. Decades later, Travolta is still appearing on screen, and this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Goldie Hawn first became famous for her infectious personality and comedy, but she quickly became one of Hollywood's biggest stars. During the 70s and 80s, films like Private Benjamin and Overboard made her a household name. Although she stepped away from acting for long periods, Horn has never been far from Hollywood, and this is what she looked like back then, and what she looks like now. Samuel L. Jackson spent years working in smaller roles before finally becoming a major Hollywood star. His unforgettable performance in Pulp Fiction changed everything, making him one of the industry's most recognizable faces. From action movies to the Marvel Universe, Jackson has continued working at an incredible pace. And this is what he looked like back then, and what he looks like now. Sharon Stone worked for years before finally becoming an international star in the 1990s. But her career was already developing during the 1980s, with roles that gradually brought her more attention. Basic Instinct eventually made her one of Hollywood's most talked about actresses. She has continued acting across film and television, and this is what she looked like back then and what she looks like now.